All right. Well, it's a good day today because John Wilds from Bethel Music is here on the Beyond Sunday podcast. And what is a tragedy about this conversation right now is we're probably literally like an hour and a half apart, but we're still meeting online, which is okay though. We'll have to meet up for some coffee at another time, John. But
I'm
welcome to the podcast, man. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much. And I am always down for a cup of coffee. Always.
Are you a coffee guy?
I am a coffee guy. Some may call me a snob. I don't know that I've reached that level, but um, I care a lot about it.
Okay, well let's talk about this because I've also been told that I'm a bit of a coffee snob, and so I'm curious, how deep does your snobbery go when it comes to coffee?
How deep does my snobbery go? I will tell you this. We have what I call a tribe here in town, and it's like a bunch of our community. And no one was into coffee until they came into contact with me. And now everyone is a snob, I should say.
You're an
So,
influencer, John. You are an influencer.
oh God, please, no, no. I think, you know what? Deeply is, I have to mention Deeply since I said it. Orlando, Deeply is my favorite coffee shop. But I love craft coffee. Every city I go to, any place I land, actually, I have a friend that I text if I go somewhere I've never been before. I don't even say hello to him. I literally say the city and state, and he responds with a plethora of coffee shops. So that's how much I'm just into it.
That's amazing. Dude, I am so with you. I love Deeply Coffee. I think it's great. Have you been to Lineage Coffee here in Orlando?
I have.
I'm a
I have.
I'm a big fan of Lineage. My friend, his brother is the owner of Lineage.
Yeah, and I
Um,
love the Johnsons. They're phenomenal people.
okay, yeah, you know the Johnsons.
Yeah, I would say their location near UCF, is it UCF or USF? UCF,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
UCF, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
UCF.
yeah,
Sorry, I'm from Tampa, so I think there's USF somewhere in here. But anyway, yeah, their UCF location, I think is really great.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so how do you brew your coffee? Like every morning, what's your go-to method?
Okay, so my go-to is I go to the coffee shop and
You don't brew your own? You don't buy your own
I
overpriced beans?
I do, but I save that for Sundays. We host my wife and I host a large group of people every single Sunday. And so when I travel, I buy beans from all the best coffee shops, bring them home, and let everyone have it together. So I have a Breville at home, which
Yeah.
obviously is nothing to like brag about if you're a snob, but for home, I think it's pretty good. Um, it has served us well
Yeah.
within budget. But yeah, so that's how I do it on Sundays. But then every other day, there's a shop in town that I go to.
Oh, gotcha. That's amazing. Um, Best coffee that you've had in the United States? What shop sits at
Wow.
the top?
Okay. So, like I said, Deeply is my favorite in Orlando. Man, in the nation, I would have to say, and if one of my guys hears this, he's going to joke on me about it. Um, but, oh, no, actually, in Singapore, there's a shop
Oh.
called Apartment Coffee, and it is insane.
It sounds good. I mean, Singapore is not the United States,
Oh,
John.
you did say the United
Or
States.
That's okay, though. Next
That's
time I'm in Singapore,
okay.
I'll have to check it out.
All right, so I'm working on my listening skills. Okay, there's a there's a shop in Houston, Texas. I can't believe I'm saying this right now. I have this rivalry with a friend of mine about Houston, Texas, and it's gone public recently. But
Okay.
but there's a shop called Simply in Houston, Texas, and honestly, it's pretty amazing.
Okay. I'll have to check that out for sure. But yeah, part of what when we traveled the country full time in our little RV trip that lasted 5 years, I would always try to find all the local third wave coffee stops, buy a bag of beans.
Mhm.
I have to have like a separate part-time job just to pay for my coffee addiction. You know what I
Yes,
mean? It gets
yes,
expensive. You understand.
I do.
So, anyway, this is not a coffee podcast. For those of you that are about to turn this off, and wait till the next episode, we're moving on now. Uh, so, John, I wanted to ask you, how in God's name do you sing so high?
Oh,
Like
Lord.
seriously, genuine question. Man, just you just sometimes you'll break out into this vocal range that I'm wondering, is that like the power of the Holy Ghost in the moment, or is your voice actually you can actually go that high?
You know what? I think it's definitely something that I don't do unless I feel it. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's a little risky if I don't. But um, I would say, when I was younger and I started singing around 15, 16 years old, it was pretty terrible. And I had no range basically. And I kept trying to stretch my range and I would sing as high as I could. But I mean, you're talking to a guy who listened to Whitney Houston every day of my life if I could help it. And and I would always try and mimic these notes that she was doing. And I couldn't, but I was determined to stretch my range. I think just over the years it's grown. But yeah, I mean, I obviously I'm not trying to do it to be flashy or anything like that, but just in the moment I can't help it. I have times where I'm like, man, I'm on the struggle bus today vocally. Um,
Yeah.
but then when I get in the moment, I literally forget and I don't know. I can't help but spend it all every time.
I've got a limited range, man. I can't do it. But I'm always looking to try to grow and strengthen my voice. What would you say to the singer who's listening right now? It's like, what are some ways that I can try to expand my vocal range? Practical tips.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Years ago, I was in this session at a conference. It was a worship conference, and there was a guy who was teaching a vocal session, and I watched him make an example of someone in the most beautiful way. They came up and said, "I have basically no range," and he said, "Okay, I'm going to challenge you on that." And I watched him basically break the mindset of this guy who felt like he could only go a certain distance in his range. And
Mm,
I realized that a lot of it is in our mind, like, you know, a lack of confidence. So I tell people all the time, a lack of confidence can be heard sometimes when you're a singer.
ooh, yeah, that's good.
Obviously, not everyone's going to be in the rafters, but I do think we sometimes limit ourselves in our mind before we even start singing. So number one, I would say have an increase of confidence in a beautiful way, not a you know not in the wrong way.
Yeah.
But then I would say just try it. Like there's YouTube University now, and so there's all these methods I didn't have when I was younger, but there's all these methods now to learn how to stretch your range. And I just try to do some scales, and I'll go to my limit, come back down, and then go a little higher the next time. And you find that it opens up a little more. Um, and then, of course, get lots of rest and sleep, which I found are two different things for me. Um, Sleep is obviously important for everyone, but not a lot of people pay attention to rest. That
Yeah.
means like don't be stressed in life. Try your best to live from a place of rest, and
Oh,
that
that's good.
helps. That helps me vocally. Obviously, water, staying hydrated, and avoiding heavily acidic foods, and that kind of stuff.
Do you drink coffee before you sing?
I don't drink coffee before I sing, but right after, I say, "You know what? I deserve a treat."
I earned this one.
No, no, but I'm obviously joking, but after I sing, yes, I will have a cup of coffee.
Yeah. That's good because I led worship just on Sunday, and I posted a picture on social media. I was like, "Where's all my worship leaders who drink coffee?" Because I had my coffee cup like right by my guitar or whatever. And I'm like, hey, there's no shame.
There's
You do your thing. But
yeah,
yeah, if your vocals are struggling, maybe you need to like lay aside the coffee
yeah,
until afterwards.
yeah. Now
That's worth.
there are times where my set is a little later in the day, and I'll go and have an iced latte before, but
Okay.
it just depends on the distance of time before I sing.
Yeah. John, did God call you to be a worship leader? And was there a defining moment where you knew that's what you were supposed to do? Talk to us
Mm,
about how you kind of discovered your call to do what you're doing.
yeah. I would say, when I was 17 years old, that's when I started leading worship, and I was forced into it, literally. Um, there was a situation at our church where, um, there was a transition in the worship department, and I was asked to step up to the plate and fill in until someone else came on. And of course, I fought it. I said, I don't lead worship. Like, I'm a musician. I had only played keys up to that point. And I started singing a little bit just to teach choir. I was teaching soprano, alto, and tenor choir parts as a teenager at our church. But, um, they asked me to do that. And I was like, I don't know how to lead worship. They're like, yeah, you do. You've been around it your whole life. And so that's how I was forced into it. I just said, okay, I'll do it until you find someone. And so I was leading the songs, and that's the only knowledge really that I had of that. And of course, being in church my whole life, I had seen a lot of things, and so I caught some of it. But I don't know. I think when I first started doing that, there was something in me that came alive, and I knew this is what I would be doing. I was like, I think this is what I'm called to do. Of course, after maturing, I realized that my real calling was to be a son, and so I wrestled with it because that became my identity, and
Mm.
I didn't realize that my assignment was the thing that I was married to, and I think I discovered over the years that I needed to maybe in some ways divorce my assignment and marry my purpose, which is to be a son and to please the Lord, so that I don't find my identity in what I'm doing, but I find it in who I am in Christ. And that was a process, many, many years of learning and unlearning, and then unlearning and learning again. But yeah,
Wow.
I would say there was the moment that I came alive. Honestly, I felt inside I came alive was when I started leading worship, but I didn't have a framework for what worship really was at that time. And so it was kind of like backwards discipleship, which I don't recommend, but sometimes we're in a cultures where people are just kind of thrown in and then they're discipled. And I think we should disciple people and lead them into something that they can do unto the Lord. But yeah, so I was thrown in the fire.
You just described worship ministry right there. That's worship ministry. You're thrown into it before you like discipleship happens on the fly, man. Like when does it ever happen where it's like, okay, I'm just going to disciple you as a worship leader until you're ready, you know? Hey, that is nice if we can develop those systems of training and development and start with kids when they're young and raise them up to be worship leaders. But man, after the 300 plus podcast interviews I've done, your story is a pretty common one. It's my story too, as I wasn't looking for this. It was
Mhm.
sort of like, get up there. You're next man up. Here we go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Um, but I loved what you said there, John. And I had this thought, like, just to distill what you just said. Our assignments change, but our identity doesn't change.
Right.
When we get our identity right, that I'm a son of God, I'm a daughter of God, and that is really who I am as a person,
Mhm.
then our assignments can go anywhere. I could be a worship leader. I could start a business. I could go work at Walmart, whatever it is. And my identity is going to stay the same. And that assignment oftentimes will shift throughout our lives. right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And if you get married to your assignment, then when that shifts, or even when it's rocky, you'll feel like you have no purpose. And I've
Yeah.
seen that many times where people, they were worship leaders and they were, um, they were the one. And then they're not the one anymore. And they say to me, I feel like I have no purpose. I feel like I'm lost.
Yeah.
And so that's not a thing where I look at somebody and go, I'm better than you. No, it's a thing where I go, Lord, help me keep my heart in the right place. Don't let me be married to this. I hold everything with an open hand. And, um, it's the blessedness. I don't remember who coined this phrase, but it's the blessedness of having everything and possessing nothing.
Yeah.
Um, my pastor preached a message on that recently, and it's what I long to live. It's how I long to live in that way. But yeah, you're thrown in, and I get it. Like I learned a lot in that time. That's for sure. It's kind of like when my older brothers, were trying to teach me how to swim. They threw me in the deep end, and I don't recommend that. So, but I did, But I, but, but
That's
I,
how you have a little bit of trauma when in those kind of situations, right?
I do. Let's not get into that. But no. But at the same time, I think what it did, honestly, it made me try to live my best as a leader who values a person's journey over their gift. We value their gifting and we see that. Um, but one of the things I tell the guys that I mentor is the first part of my life, I felt like people saw my gift but didn't see me. So the gift was shining, but I was really dying. The gift was
Wow.
shining, I was dying, and no one knew it. And because no one really cared to say, "Hey, how are you?" Um, I want to teach you some things. I want to show you some things. And so I try my best to live as a leader, with the people that I lead, to see them, to know them, um, regardless of their gifting. Of course, their gift may be the thing that introduces them to me, but at the end of the day, your gift will make room for you. But I think, you know, good character, will keep you there. So, um, yeah, it helped me in some ways, but I don't recommend, the way that I was thrown in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're forced to learn quickly.
Yes.
Uh, yeah. Uh, John, thinking back to those early days, or maybe this is a more recent memory, but what's your most embarrassing worship leading memory that you can think of?
Ooh. So I have one in mind where I went to lead worship I was a guest at a church in Georgia, and the pastor took me to his favorite restaurant before service, and it was great. I had a chicken dish, and it was good. I noticed while I was eating it, though, there was something a little off about the chicken, but I thought, whatever, I'm going to eat it. Well, that was a bad idea, and
Undercooked.
it was undercooked.
Oh
I
my
got
God.
I got food poisoning. Well, food poisoning hit me in the way of diarrhea, and when I you ask,
I want it.
okay, so
Bring
you
it all.
well, we get to the church, and I tell them I need to go to the restroom, so I go to the restroom, and I'm there for a while, and I'm struggling, and I'm thinking it's just a one-off thing. I get on stage, and in the middle of the first song, I'm leading, obviously. I'm leading the song. We're in the middle of this chorus of the song, and I get like daggers in my stomach. And I know if I don't leave this platform, it's over for me and everyone in the room. So I'm like, I'm not going to desecrate the altar. So so, so I run off the stage, and without warning, and the team just keeps singing, and everybody's just watching me run off the stage. And they don't have a this is why it's embarrassing. One, because I have to run off the stage. Two, because they don't have a backstage. So I had to run off the front of the stage. and go down the aisle, okay? I had to go down the aisle. It wasn't the walk of shame, it was the run of shame.
Oh my gosh.
And get on the toilet. Well, that happened 3 times during that service, where finally someone they and here's the thing, I didn't need security, but security standing outside the door, and I didn't know it. And I opened the door, and there's a security guy standing. He says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Oh my God, were you standing there the whole time?"
Oh my
Most
gosh.
most embarrassing by far, because it happened.
Dude, you earned that honorarium check, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Oh my word. That might be the best one that I've ever heard in all my years of podcasting.
Yeah.
Usually for some people it's like, I went off pitch, or I think Kim Walker told me once that she like literally fell off the stage. Like she
Oh my
like walked a little too far forward and she was just gone.
oh my
But my goodness, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad. And you know what? At the end of the service, we're flowing, and I thought I was good. I'm like, I've done it 3 times, so I'm good. We're flowing, and the pastor asked me to lay hands on people. Now, I didn't want to, because I knew I was in a risky state. And so and I'm like, I say to him, I think we're good. And he says, like, I want you to lay hands on some people. So I go down, and people are standing there, and I'm praying for this precious lady. And it hit me while I'm praying for her. So I legit look at the guy who is kind of going down the aisle with me. And I say to him, I can't do this. I can't. I gotta go. I gotta go. And I ran out of the room. And I never came back. I was like, you guys got to close this service. So,
I want the Holy Spirit to move, but he's done for the night.
yeah, I can't get him to move because my bowels keep moving.
Were you ever invited back to that church?
I was. I was.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, they were
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Um, John, so we like to have some honest conversations on this podcast. And a question I ask a lot of my guests is, I just think it's helpful as those of us involved in worship ministry, that we kind of think about what we're doing and watch out for pitfalls kind of in ministry and in church. And so I wonder, just from your perspective, as you look at the worship movement or just even local church worship ministry today, what is really exciting about what you're noticing, and what's concerning about what you're seeing?
Yeah, great question. Um, what's exciting is there is a group of people worldwide. I say worldwide because I hear people say, certain places in the world are dark, you know, and that is true. But worldwide, what I see is a love for the Lord. I really
Mhm.
do. I see a love for the things of God. I see a love for the genuine, authentic presence of God. I see a passion uh, for worship. I see a passion for the Word. I see a hunger for that. And I think that's increasing in this season. Um, and it's beautiful to me. I see a passion for the lost. I see people really whose hearts are set ablaze. Honestly,
Mm.
I see that. That's what excites me, because, like my pastor would say, the good news is the bad news is wrong. I think we're seeing a lot of victory in the church. I think the kingdom of God is advancing at a rapid pace. I think it's speeding up even more this season. Um, and then the things that concern me would be the things that burden me, right?
Mm.
Like, what the things that I believe that burden the Lord as well would be those places and times where people are not really that into Jesus as much as they are into themselves. Um, I see that if we're not careful as leaders, we'll do a better job at leading people to ourselves than we do leading them to Jesus. Um, I see where people can become codependent on a leader. They can become codependent on a system, a church, a religion,
Mm,
a structure, whatever that is. And I see that, that's always a danger, you know, because ultimately all of this that we do ultimately is supposed to be unto the Lord. Um, our singing, our praying, our preaching, our writing songs, writing books, everything that we do should be pointing people to Him. That's the ultimate goal of all of this. Like it's the reason this all exists.
yeah.
And so that would always be concerning to me, if we're not actually leading people to Jesus. Because if we lead them to ourselves, things will get ugly because they'll see that we're not that beautiful.
Mm,
I have a diamond ring on my finger, my wedding band. It's only beautiful because the light shines on it. And if we ever forget that the only beauty comes from the light of God, then we'll miss the point. So that would be what concerns me.
how do we war against that or fight against that, John? Because I don't think anybody goes into ministry with this idea of, I want to build an empire or I want to draw people to myself. Maybe they're out there, but I think most people enter in very humbly with good intentions.
Mhm.
But oftentimes, success and numbers and growth and influence can sort of distract us or corrupt us. And we're all prone to it, prone to wander. Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love, prone to worship anything other than the Savior. What's the answer to not going down that path?
Yeah, I think consistent surrender.
Mm,
Um, to surrender once is amazing, but to continually surrender is, I think, the path. I think about Romans 12. It's my favorite. Presenting your bodies, giving your whole self to the Lord as a living sacrifice. You know, in Scripture, sacrifices they didn't live after they were sacrificed. Um, so they could die and they'd bleed out on the altar and it would be done. But we have flesh that wants to come off the altar, and we have
mm,
we have to consistently deal with that. So we're living, but we have to be consistently dying, and that's not that doesn't sound pretty, and it's not. It's costly. It's always going to be costly. Now it's going to be well worth it. It
yeah,
is. It is well worth it. To die and to give up everything for the Lord. But I think we have, and I'm saying we have an issue with dying because we love our lives. We love the things that we've built. We love the things that we have gained. We love all of that. I think about Paul, like, gains are actually, I count them a loss
well,
compared to the surpassing knowledge of him. I think so. I think the answer is consistent surrender. And that happens. It's a process. I don't want to be religious about it, but I know that I need the Lord.
yeah,
And I tell him often, I need you. I tell him before I take a stage. I told him before this, I was outside under my car and I said, Lord, help me. I need you.
yeah,
Because I can say a bunch of stuff here and you can know me, but I want I want him to know I need him. And I want to remind myself consistently I need him in every area of my life. I haven't
yeah,
arrived. I haven't made it. I have nothing significant except what he's given me. So, I think to guard against that, you just surrender to the Lord. And the more you give him, the less you will give to anything else.
yeah.
Uh, So the more you're filled with him, the less room there is for anything else. So
Yeah.
I think a consistent surrender and a consistent filling, which comes by, spending time with the Lord, consistent prayer, um, talking to him about it all, everything that comes up, talk to him about it, like include him in it. Um, and and being in the word, like being filled with the word.
Yeah.
Um, and not just the act of reading it, but asking the Holy Spirit to help you, you know. Even with surrender, I actually posted this yesterday because I was having a conversation with someone about this and said, even I need his help even to surrender. I need
Mm,
I need him to want him. And that's beautiful to me. That if I want him, that's actually him. Like
yeah.
I don't want him unless he wants me. Like I love him because he first loved me. Like he initiates this thing. And so I always tell people, like, if you go like, man, I'm hungry, I'm dry, or whatever it is, thank God for that, because that's him in pursuit of you.
Yeah. There's a counter intuitive nature to the kingdom,
Mm,
right? So, like in our lives, we need our parents when we're babies, right? But as we grow, we don't really need them anymore, right? We become
mm,
independent.
mm,
We move out of their house. We get married, we start our own family, and absolutely we stay in touch, but we sort of step away. But with God, it's kind of the opposite. We we have to stay dependent because the reality is we are dependent, like our very breath that we're breathing right now, John, like we are dependent on God for that breath. But somewhere along the line, we lose sight of that like intimacy with God and we don't realize how much we actually need him. We get better at our craft. We get better at what we do, or we get better at networking. We find some success. And before you know it, it's like, hey, look where I am. Even as a worship leader, like if Sunday goes really well, I'm kind of strutting a little bit differently, feeling really good about myself. But if I like miss a lyric or, sing off key or play the wrong note, then I feel like my world's crashing down. Right. So it is this interesting sort of counterintuitive to the ways of the world of kind of self dependence and self reliance. It's the opposite in the kingdom, right?
yeah, yeah. And this thing can become intoxicating.
Mm,
Um, you very easily become slain in your own spirit. And I just think the important thing, like I said, is consistent surrender. Like even after these moments, obviously I'm talking about worship leading now because I'm a worship leader. That just happens to be my assignment, right? One of them. I'm also a husband and a father. But um, but if we're talking about ministry, it's intoxicating.
yeah.
I had a friend who he's still a friend, but years ago he said something in a session that he was speaking to a group of young people I had brought together for like an event, and he said, "Deep down, we all have a desire to be worshipped." And it rubbed me the wrong way. And I was like, "I don't have no desire to be worshipped." And he continued. He said, think about how you feel when you hear "great job" or "attaboy" or when someone celebrates you or something that you've accomplished. And he said, but we weren't built for that.
Mm,
We were built to worship, but we were not built for worship,
wow.
to receive unto ourselves. And so, I dealt with that. Lord, if there's anything in me that desires to receive glory, you know, or if I'm looking for the ultimate affirmation from people, I'm not saying affirmation is bad, but it can be if you're dependent upon that uh, affirmation to come from something you do. It goes back to what I said earlier about being a son. If you're not content with who you are, then you'll never be content with what you do. So it'll never be enough. And at the end of my life, sonship will be the only thing that really mattered. Did I live according to being a son of God? Did I obey him? Did I know him? Did he know me? Like that whole thing is what's going to matter in the end. So if it doesn't matter in eternity, then it probably doesn't matter now. Do these
Wow.
things really matter as much? What sits on the throne of my heart? That's something I have to consistently ask myself. So when people say to me, "I'm proud of you," and all this stuff, and I get it, and it's beautiful, right? There's beauty in honor and honoring one another, honoring the gift of God in someone. I can say, "What you're a great interviewer, by the way. You ask great questions. There's nothing wrong with me honoring you in that way, but you're a son, so my honor or lack of honor doesn't change who you are if
Yeah.
you realize that you're a son." So that's foundational.
Slain in your own spirit. Bro, you just dropped that and just moved on, and I'm like, I've never heard that before. I mean, hey, I grew up Pentecostal, so I know what being slain in the spirit is. But, like, slain in your own spirit, that's heavy, bro.
Well, I'm the man and I'm this and I'm that, like, and we won't say that, right? But we behave that way. And what you believe determines how you behave. So we just have to consistently address it. That's all I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I have to consistently address it. I've gotten in my car before after this big, huge, amazing opportunity, and I said, "Lord, I hope you're proud of me. I love you. You're what matters to me. What you think is what matters."
Yeah.
This person on the other side of the world doesn't know me, and so they have that. They hold me to the highest regard. But Lord, I just want you to hold me to. I want to know that you're proud of me. I want to know that you're smiling. Because if you're not smiling, I'm actually not winning in life. I'm not winning if he's not smiling.
Yeah.
Success, I've said this hundreds of times. Success is God's smile, and He smiles at obedience, faithfulness, humility,
Mhm.
honor. He smiles at that, and so I want him to keep smiling.
Yeah, it's so good. A foundational book that I read when I was a young worship leader was Bob Sorge's, Dealing with the
Ooh,
Rejection and Praise of Man. Have you ever read that one?
I have not, but Bob Sorge is wow.
Yeah, he's great, and, the book is really small, and I'd encourage our listeners to check it out, because it kinda blew my mind, right? Because he talks about how we can't, draw our identity from the praise of man, but we also can't draw our identity from the criticisms of man, right? Because it's very fickle. At one
Mhm.
point, you'll be on top of the world, and the next moment, you'll be the subject of everyone's criticism, right? Think of Jesus, right? When he comes into Jerusalem on the donkey, it's Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, right? And then just a few days later, it was crucify him, right?
Yeah.
So to be able to draw that identity from him, from the Lord, and he even just practically for people in worship ministry or in public ministry, go to God before you do ministry, absolutely. But also, like you said, go to God after you do ministry and hear, well done, good and faithful servant. That's where you draw your identity from. So such a good reminder, man. That's so good.
Yeah.
Um, John, uh, maybe some people don't know this about you. I mean, I'm sure they know your involvement with Bethel Music and as a singer and a worship leader and an artist, but you're also a worship pastor at Calvary, here in the Orlando-ish area, Central Florida on the coast. Uh, Tell us about that a bit. And I guess maybe from this perspective, what's the most difficult thing? And by the way, a lot of our listeners, most of my listeners here are worship pastors. So they understand kind of what
Yeah.
you do and what they're going through. But for you, what's the most difficult thing about being a worship pastor in 2025?
Uh, the the okay, the death of ego. I will tell you that's the most difficult thing. Now, I would like to think that my ego is dead, but it has to die so much. When you're leading people, you cannot take yourself too seriously, and that's the most difficult thing, because, like I said, our flesh wants to get off the altar. But you're leading people, one as a worship pastor, and I think someone asked years ago, "What's the difference between worship leader and worship pastor?" And I don't know that I have the exact answer to that, other than you're pastoring people. And when you're pastoring people, it's a lot deeper than just leading the songs or or leading the worship. But it goes back to seeing people, knowing them, um, loving them through, uh, the ups and downs, the highs and the lows, loving them through chaos, through confusion, through mess, all of that kind of stuff, and a s- uh, having a grace that you receive consistently from the Lord, but that you also extend to others, and the constant death to ego, making
Mm.
sure making sure that you're not viewed as a superstar, that you're not the most important person in the room. That those are things that I love living that way. I love leading that way. But that's a challenge. No one wants to actually die, right? But it's also beautiful. It is challenging though because you're leading people, and sometimes I've heard over the years pastors say that you're leading sheep, you're shepherding sheep, and sheep bite. Uh, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
sh- they bite, they're skittish sometimes, all those things. But it's so rewarding to I get to raise people up. I get um to see the best in them. I get to champion them. I get to step back and watch them lead. I think it's beautiful. But yeah, I would say that's the challenge.
Ryan Holiday wrote a book called Ego is the Enemy. Uh, it's not like a Christian book or anything. He studies, he's kind of a modern stoic and studying stoicism, but in that book, he just kind of goes throughout history and looks at how ego is often the thing that just derails somebody's influence and effectiveness. Because when all you can see is yourself, you can't truly love others or can't truly serve others.
So
And
true.
you become sort of the bottleneck, thinking organizationally, even in the kingdom, like you become the center of everything, and you start to see volunteers or musicians or people on your team as a way to stroke your own ego or to make yourself look good. And
Um,
there's a whole host of problems that can happen because of that.
yeah, yeah, it's also it's helpful to be a leader because it brings out all those things in you.
Yeah.
Uh, you realize that you don't need to hold on to offense. Offense most often is tied to pride, and like, I go, if you're offended, then what part of you hasn't died? Or what part of you needs to die again today?
That's good.
It's so, but it's good. Like I love it. That's why I love it because I'm a Bethel artist, and I also still travel independently quite a bit, and I'm blessed to go all around the world and do this and do that. But I come home to this place where I'm just John,
Hmm.
and I'm not saying they don't honor me. I'm a part of this family, and we honor each other. But here, I'm not a special guest. You know, you we I think, which is one of the reasons I harp on being planted in local church and serving somewhere where you have to serve other people, because we're artists, we're viewed as artists, right? And obviously there's an art to what we do, and we're artists in that way,
Hmm.
creatives. But I mean like artists in terms of like special person, whatever that is. And so you go to all these green rooms, they're giving you water, they're waiting on you, they're honoring you. You go here, you go there, everybody's glad to see you. And that, if you're not careful, becomes a thing that you are so addicted to, and you
Hmm.
love, and you start, after you treat it special so often, you start to believe that you are. So I think the thing that helps me combat that is that I have to come home to people who have seen my bad attitude, who have smelled my bad breath when I have it, who have, you know what I mean? Like, who know how much time I've spent with my family this week, you
Yeah.
know, and all of that stuff, the stuff that irritates me, the stuff that I love, the beautiful things, all that stuff, all that is like a whole cup of humility. And it's amazing to drink it and to be part of a community that loves you for you they're not watching my YouTube videos because I'm in front of them. So they don't even know about that whole thing. I don't talk about it. I don't need to talk about it. Like, this is a family, and I love that. So, um, I think I answered more than your question, but
No, it's so good. Yeah, it's like we need the main event to be what we do locally, our families, our local church. Like, that's the privilege. That's that's the calling.
Mhm.
And then this other stuff that we get to do, whether it's traveling or, global events or things. I mean, that's a blessing from God, but it's not the main event.
Right.
The main event is staying grounded and local, even from like a worship songwriter perspective. I don't know how you can be a great worship songwriter if you're not like in a local church, right? Walking with people, um,
Yes.
caring for people, going through challenges together. Like, that is the stuff that songs are supposed to come out of, not just a writer's room, and I'm not against writers' rooms. That's great. But you know what I mean? There's just something about like being anchored locally sort of gives your life more meaning and groundedness to be able to do the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can tell. I mean, that can be heard in songs, right?
Mhm.
You can definitely tell the ones who've given their hearts uh, to the Lord and to the local church. Like, you can tell because the things that they write are the
Yeah.
heart. It's the heart of the church. It's the heart of God,
Yeah.
and that can always be heard. I think it's consistent. It's consistently important for us to. I mean, I think people sometimes forget that this human side of us. Um, is something to be wrestled with consistently. And, I find myself, of course, I love writing songs. I love leading worship. I love the writing rooms, like you said. But I find myself wanting to connect with people that I know love the church. So
Mm.
before I write with them, I'm looking them up. Are they in a church? Are they serving at the local church? What's in them?
Yep.
'Cause that matters. It's like you said, it's gonna be the meat of what they deliver.
Yeah. That's so good. John, how do you do mentorship and discipleship at like in your worship ministry, in your team? What are some practical things that you do to kind of raise people up and walk with them, develop them?
Yeah. Give them the time of day, notice them. We have a large team here, so I have also, an amazing worship staff that we all work together, in this same thing. I make sure that it's not just my heart, because obviously it's hard to be a worship pastor of a large team and really, really know everyone. And so if there's someone I don't know, we talk about it in my office and I say, hey, this person, they've got great qualities of leadership. But how are they doing? Has anyone had coffee with them? Um, and it's not some ploy to connect, right? But it is like, I want every person on this stage and off stage, those who work behind the scenes, to know that they are cared for and valued. And so, like I told you before, I felt like people saw my gift but didn't see me. So every gifted person that we have involved in our team, which is every person on our team, we um, we try to know them. So
Yeah.
I'll go have coffee with them. I'll have a conversation with them. I invite people over to our house. My wife and I host about 30 people every week. Some of them are on our team, and some are just people that we disciple beyond that. And I think we try to. A friend of mine hates this phrase, "do life with people." He hates that.
Yeah.
I think it's just overly used, but we try to just make sure that, I mean, we're going to eat. Some people think it's difficult to disciple people. No, some of it's taught and some of it's caught. So I take people along with me on the road too. Um, I have a list of events and I'll say, hey, I need some time with this person. Let's just have them go with us in the team, and we get time together. They see and then we sit and we debrief. They ask questions. Why did you do this? What was this moment about? And all of that. So I just try to, like Jesus would sit with the disciples and teach, and then he would take them along on the journey. And so I try to do that as best I can.
Yeah. So the 30 people over to your house, is that like, hey, we're hanging out, we're eating food together, or is it like we're worshiping together, you're doing like a Bible study? What is it?
So we actually know that my wife cooks a big meal. So we're gonna eat. We're gonna just enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these people serve in ministry consistently, and so I find that we like to just in church culture globally. I think we like to just busy people in service, 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 and so we don't see enough people gathering outside of the church and just enjoying one another's company. And I have found that when I sit with these people and just enjoy their company, I don't need them to run lyrics for me. I don't need you to, run merch today. I don't need you to do any of that. I just need you to say this chicken is good. Let's have a cup of coffee together. Ask you
As
how you.
long, as long as it's cooked chicken, right? As long as it's fully cooked.
Yes, and my wife is good at it. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Her food is the talk of the town.
I don't
Um,
know, man. If I had some undercooked chicken and what happened to me happened to you happened to me, I don't know if I could eat chicken again.
well, I mean, you could. I don't want to say look at my skin color and say I'm gonna eat chicken. That's one hill I'm not gonna die on.
I ain't giving up chicken even if the Lord tells me to.
That's
Not
right.
happening.
Chicken is of God. But
Oh, man.
that is honestly, that's a time where they don't have to come and do anything. They just receive, and we all receive. I'm actually filled up by spending time with these people.
Yeah.
And then from there, we have some guys that do Bible study groups now. We have my wife meets with some of the girls on a regular basis. She's taking some of them on a mission trip with her to Asia. Like all of that happens within that context. Does that make sense? So
Yep.
it's not always a Bible study, although we do.
Yeah.
I was with guys yesterday, actually at Deeply, and turning them on to a podcast that I've been listening to that's about theology and asking them, what they're reading in the Word. So yeah, it happens all throughout. I think sometimes we think discipleship is like this class on Tuesdays. No, discipleship is like life.
Yep.
Make disciples, and then make disciples, hopefully, that make other disciples.
Yep. No, that's so good, man. That's so good. And I think it takes the pressure off a little bit. You don't have to have all the curriculum in place and everything to start discipling people. It's just be together, you
Yeah.
know, make it a point to be together.
Yes. Be together, open the Word,
Yeah.
talk to them about spiritual things. It's not weird.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's good. John, I'm going to let you go here, even though I could keep talking, but I do want to ask you about, so in church world, right, we love talking about systems, like what's working here, what's working there, what kind of systems are you implementing that are helpful for your team? Some of that is good. And I think some of it can become a little bit obsessive where we just sort of copy and paste church cultures around the country when there is a sort of local uniqueness that we need to tap into. But I'm curious, just from a worship perspective, John, what kind of system do you operate by when it comes to Sunday morning worship? What's your time frame? Is it a typical like fast song, medium song, slow song? Do you have prophetic, spontaneous moments? What's sort of a typical structure that you work from on a regular basis?
yeah, I would say the typical structure for us is, we always try to start with some sort of thanksgiving and praise, entrance gates with thanksgiving, courts of praise. Um, so we try to set that up, and that can be most of the time here in our church's culture it is more upbeat.
Mhm.
Um, but there are times that we start and it's not, and then we kind of move on from there. And we do about the plan is about 35 to 40 minutes. But our church is if God's, in the room and moving, then we just go with whatever he's wanting to
So
do.
it'll go longer than that sometimes.
Oh yeah, it'll go longer than that sometimes.
Do you have one service, two services?
We have one service.
Okay.
Yeah. We used to have two services pre-COVID, and then when we came back from that, we realized, man, just pack people in here. And then instead of having another service, we've started other campuses near us. So
Yeah.
so yeah, we have one service at the central campus, and yeah, we'll have times that it goes longer than that. Just depends on the flow. We do have prophetic moments. We have spontaneous. We leave room for that. We don't plan for it to happen, but if it happens, it happens, and we're all cool with it.
Yeah. I didn't even plan on talking about this, John, but as you're talking, it's like, it's interesting how with church, right? Like the church growth movement and how we've sort of scaled and grown churches, right? Multi-site, but also multi-service, right? That's been a normal thing for a long time. But like my home church does 4 services on a Sunday. And I know a lot of churches that do that, and some where it's like 7, 8 services on a weekend, right? And I understand that you have to accommodate growth. There's something about that that's so challenging though, right? Because to do that many services, you sort of really have to dial in this system. Whereas when you have a single service, there's a way that you can approach that with a little more maybe freedom or sensitivity to the Holy Spirit that the other system makes it so hard to do. You know?
Mhm.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would definitely say, like, when we had 2 services, we were doing 2 Sunday morning, and we had a Wednesday night service. Wednesday night, of course, you have kids that have to get to school the next day, so we were mindful of that. But even our Sunday services when we had 2 services, it got kind of risky then because it's hard to flip over our parking lot. Um, and but we'd have moments where first service, it used to be known, I think, I mean, at least this is how I saw it when I first got it. It used to be known as the service that, you're kind of waking up, and then
Yeah.
the first service is always the one you're waking up, and then the second one is going to be the one and it's going to be fire. And then I realized that I had that mentality, and I realized that our team had that mentality. So I had to talk with our whole team, and I said, "Hey, like, we're worshiping the same God at 9 o'clock that we are at 11, right?" And there was brand new mercy this morning when we got up. So let's make sure that we're fresh this morning for him and give him our best, whether it's 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock. And our people deserve that. Like, for us to not be waking up for like, I don't even want to have that mentality. I want to come in and go, Lord, like, this is for you. And we saw a shift in our first service to where the first service would be the one that a bomb would go off in. And I mean, even we'd had times where it would spill over into second service, where people would come in, and there'd be people in the back of the room who were just on their faces worshiping God and have to step over bodies to get to their seats.
Yeah.
I do think there is something to be said about making room for God to move. Now, I remember when there was a time where I was given like 15 or 20 minutes, and I'm saying this because I've led worship for 23 years. So I remember a season of time where the expectation for me in a place that I was at was about 15, 20 minutes. And I struggled with that because I'm like, 15 minutes, come on. They're trying to get out of the parking lot. They're trying to get, through kids church, check their kids in, and they're coming in. Their brains aren't even functioning yet.
Right.
Um, and I got frustrated. And I realized there was frustration there for leadership. Like, they're quenching the spirit, that whole thing. And then I felt like the Lord asked me a question. He said, "How long do you think I need?" And I just sat there and I was like, "Well, you're God. You can move in an instant." He said, "Okay, so allow me to move. And it was like, okay, but can you do that in 15 minutes? And he's like, how long do you think I need? And then I
It
realized
is really it's silly to think about, isn't it?
it is silly to think about. And I said, well, so what he wanted was to move in my heart first, move that frustration out of the way, and not me stand on the stage and think that, me singing and leading this moment is the most important moment. Because he wasn't going to move, in that frustration. But if I got that out of the way and said, Lord, forgive me for how I feel toward leadership. I don't want to stand on this stage with frustration and think that you're going to receive my song now when I'm angry and mad at this person. And so I just came in and I said, well, help me to honor you in this 15, 20 minutes. Whatever you give me, Lord, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I did. And what I started noticing was the pastor at that time, he would do this and he wouldn't come up. Or I'd look down there at the end of that 15 minutes and he's on his face. And I noticed there
Mhm.
was more of a grace, and there was more of a, because I honored the word, and I honored what his heart was, and there was a reciprocal honor, if I could
Yes.
say so. And I think if you're at a place where they have 6 services, that is a challenge, and I'm sorry for you, but that is a challenge, but God can move in that. Just continually pray, like ask the Lord. I used to ask the Lord, would you move here, Lord? This is the framework that we have. Can you
Right.
bless this? Can you move in this? Um,
Yeah, and I think there's the misunderstanding too that worship has to be like super prophetic and spontaneous for God to move, but I think God moves in our preparation. He moves
yes,
in the worship services that are just normal. Like, I'm
yes,
sure you see this a lot, right? As part of Bethel music, right? Bethel, I mean, there's a lot of space, there's a lot of intensity in worship. But
yeah,
hey, God moves in the simple, small church 10, 15-minute worship set too, right?
mhm,
He
yeah,
uses it all, and that's okay. It doesn't have to look like Bethel. It doesn't have to look like John at Calvary, you know?
mhm,
So,
yeah. And if you go to Bethel on a Sunday morning, it actually is, in my opinion, it is a little more structured.
yeah.
Um, And I think there's I love that's one of the reasons I love Bethel, because I see that part of it. We have this conference here called Collide, and Collide started because we noticed, my pastor noticed that there were so many leaders that struggled with, you have to have all structure and then there's no flow of the spirit. And then on the flip side, you had all the ultra flow people and they had no structure, you know,
Chaos.
so like chaos. And he's like, what about a collision of the two?
Yeah, it's
Um,
good.
that looks like maybe the oil will flow over our structure, and I tell
Mm,
workers that preparation actually leads to flow, because, the Holy Spirit can flow freely if you're prepared. If I don't know what to do, then why would he, try to bring chaos in the room? Like, I don't even
yeah,
know what to do. So, I think there's pros and cons to both, right? If you focus too much on one or the other.
yeah.
So I am thankful for this church that I am a part of. My God, thank you for my family, because
Mm,
it takes the pressure off of me too. Um, you know, Someone asked me recently, and I know we're ending. I'm so sorry, but
no, you're good. I'm asking you questions.
yeah, someone asked me recently about like a moment where there was complete silence, and they said, "Do you think people were confused?" And I said, "No, I don't think people were confused. I think it was beautiful. I think we always feel like we have to fill up the space with something.
That's right.
But like, how about a Selah? How about you just ponder what the Lord just said or what he just did? Like, let's just sit in it. And this place here is that and everything in between. If you want to swing from the chandeliers, they'll swing from the chandeliers. If you want to lay on your face and weep, they'll lay on their face and weep. If you just want to sit still and just go, and it's all welcome. And so it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's so good. John, this was a lot of fun, man. This was, I mean, great, Great stuff. We didn't even talk about Bethel Music much and the new record, but hey, Bethel Music doesn't need my promotion. But your new record is fantastic. I
Oh,
mean, John Wilds himself, song number 1, The Lamb, Hallelujah. I mean, bro,
such a beautiful.
opening up the whole record, great song. I mean, the whole record's it's just packed
There are
full of great stuff.
so many great songs on that album.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. I remember sitting in the sound checks and just weeping like a baby when we were about to record that album because there was so. I mean, there's so much richness in the lyrics. I was thinking about the song. I think it's called "Holy Song." I might have just messed up the title. Um,
I think you're right.
Holy, holy, holy
There you go.
is the Lord
Holy song. Yeah.
God
Bro.
Almighty. Oh my gosh. He has done great things. That's one of my favorites. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You might hear that one again from someone else. Uh,
Ooh, you heard it here first, folks, right here.
but so many great songs. And of course, The Lamb, that's a beautiful song. I love it so much. But yeah, you need to get the new Bethel album. Um, they may not have asked you to promote it, but I'm going to promote it. It's amazing. Get it. I think it's a great resource to the church too.
No, yeah, it's fantastic. And John, appreciate you, man. I love your heart and great to connect. Thanks for doing this. This means so much to worship leaders who tune in and just gives us a little encouragement and challenge and strength for the journey ahead. And we appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for what you're doing, creating space for conversations like this to build other people up and encourage them to look at Jesus. Thank you.